Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Anna Cabeca here. I am thrilled to be here with all of you today. I am going to go through some of my principles of being keto-green with a dear friend and esteemed colleague of mine, Dr. Stephen Masley. He is a best-selling author. Going to bring him on right now. Can't wait any longer. Hello, Dr. Masley. How are you?
Hey, so nice to be with you again.
Always nice to be with you. And I love that you are there in your kitchen. As we're talking about food, I know his kitchen well. I have cooked in his kitchen, and Stephen is just an amazing chef and amazing cook. So not only is he a fabulous world-renowned specialist physician doing integrative and functional medicine, but and age management medicine, also the best-selling author of multiple books. With your most recent book is The Mediterranean Method. Do you have it there, Stephen? I'm on an island out here in South Georgia.
I do. At your request, I had this ready to show up.
Thank you. Thanks for showing everyone. This is an amazing book, and you have colored pictures in there. Open it up.
I do. I love the pictures they took. You know, whether it's a little cheesecake, blueberry cheesecake, or a Greek salad, a salad, or mussels. That's an awesome dish. Mm-hmm. But the colors are just wonderful in Mediterranean food. Paella is this classic dish from Spain that But I was really intrigued. I tried, instead of using rice, which has this huge glycemic load, I made it with cauliflower rice just to try it, and it was fantastic. It was really easy. It cut the cooking time in half. The flavors are fantastic, and it's a lot more, low glycemic load, a lot lower sugar, so certainly more keto compatible, but also Mediterranean diet compatible. So that, I'm learning to use more cauliflower rice, and it comes out beautiful when you do that. With shellfish, just an awesome dish.
I love that. So paella with cauliflower rice as a substitution for rice. Okay,
yes.
Everyone listen to that. And we've got a bunch of our beloved community, a lot of Keto-Green community folks that are watching as well. So guys, let us know where you are here from. Go ahead and say hi and tell us where you are watching from. And if you are doing Keto-Green 16 right now, let us know too. I'm excited to see and to hear from all of you guys and see how you're doing, checking in with my community. And this is something, Stephen, we have this awesome Keto-Green community, and people are running through my 16 days on Keto-Green 16. And it's been so much fun. I just came out here to Little St. Simon's Island, which you and Nicole have got to come out here, and anyone listening. This is probably one of my favorite places in the world. And honestly, it takes me a half hour to get here and then a half hour boat ride. So a half hour to get to the dock and then a half hour boat ride to get out to this island. And it's a privately owned island, and it's very untouched. So the marsh areas and the bird watching and gators and snakes, and they don't spray for insects or anything like that, but it is beautiful Spanish moss. I'm going to show you actually, because this is just so incredible. I'm going to show you, and I hope I do not lose everyone, because internet has been a challenge out here. Oops.
I hear your voice, but I don't see your image right now.
Hold on one second. What did I do? Let me see. Hold on. It is a challenge sometimes when we do this, but let's see if I fixed it. I don't know what I did. Let's try that.
I'm sure the view is spectacular. I wish I could see it.
The view has disappeared. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Let's try it this way. Any view?
Nope.
Nothing. All right. Looks like your camera was unplugged. Oh, I see what happened. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, let's do this. Do you just see like the Spanish moss in the trees? And can you see it's so beautiful? It's just an amazing place, historic. The building I'm in was built in 1920s, and not much done to it since. So pretty cool and pretty spectacular. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with all of you guys, as I've taken a couple days away from my office for this time of rest and restoration and retreat. And let's see, we have people from all over, Stephen. So Jerry's in from Maine. Maurice is from Guadalupe. Pamela from Canada. Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Cape Cod. Ellen is from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Good to see you all. Awesome, you guys. So let's go ahead and let's share in about our smoke points. And we were going to talk about smoke points because there's so many great cooking oils that we can use and play with that are Keto-Green friendly and Mediterranean friendly. So this is the beauty of having some flexibility in our cooking, but also know what makes it safe and what makes it unsafe. Because something at room temperature, it can be beautifully safe, and something otherwise can be, we call it poison. There's Brittany is joining us from on the road in Florida. Good to see you, Brittany. She's here to help and support too. So great to see all you guys. All right, Stephen.
Well, just recently on the phone, you and I were chatting, and the question came up about smoke points, and in particular coconut oil, because people were asking about coconut oil. So let's first just what is a smoke point? If you take an oil, any oil, and you heat it, it will temperature as it rises up. Eventually, there's a point where the oil will burn. I'm sure almost all of your listeners, at some point when we've been cooking, you notice the oil smokes. Well, that was way over the top. We've damaged the oil, and it's now basically ruined. And the best plan is to turn off the heat, take a paper towel, something, clean the oil out, reapply new oil, and start over, and don't go so hot. Because when you go too high, there's like these delicate fats in every oil. They're not all one type. There's multiple types of fats in there. There's proteins, there's nutrients, there's vitamins. And if you heat them too high, as Dr. Cabeca knows, we damage them. And we don't want to exceed the smoke point. And every oil has this different smoke point. Let me just give you some examples here. So when we're cooking, low heat is like under 250 degrees. And almost all the oils can tolerate that simmer under 250. Medium low goes up to 325. Medium heat is 325 to 375. Medium high, that's like you want to sear something. You want to get your onions seared. You want to sear a little brown on chicken or fish or a vegetable. Now we're talking about 375 to 450, and anything above 450 is considered high heat. So that just gives you an idea of what the range is when we're cooking in the kitchen. But what does that have to do with the oils? Well, if you think about virgin coconut oil, the type that has all the nutrient, its smoke point on virgin is only 350 degrees. That's like low heat cooking. And there's been this myth that's been out there for a long time. I've been hearing it for years that, you can use high heat for coconut oil or other oils. And unfortunately, it turns out that's not really true.
So that was where I was like, wait, is that because we're using organic coconut oil?
Unrefined. So if you heat it and extract it with chemicals, that refined coconut oil can tolerate higher heat. It's already damaged. It doesn't have the delicate, nutrient-rich components to it. So unrefined coconut oil, I've actually, let me peek here. What does it say? Can go up to 400 degrees refined. Unrefined is only 350. Extra virgin olive oil is 400. Almond oil goes up to about 450. So it can take medium high heat. High heat would be like one of my favorites is avocado oil. It really delicate, healthy flavors, very nutrient rich. Avocado oil can tolerate 520 degrees. Ghee, I know you like to cook with ghee. That's an example of something that butter is only 350, but ghee can tolerate high heat cooking. Ghee can tolerate more than 450 degrees.
Okay. And so when do we want high, and I want to show everyone, you guys, Dr. Masley is sharing his resources, his smoke point oil chart. Definitely it's in his book, The Mediterranean Method. So such good stuff. But he's giving you these resources. I'm going to share this page with you in just a second. But when do we want high heat over like medium heat cooking?
Like, okay, so it's not really keto food, like popcorn, not a keto food, but you need high heat to get that kernel to pop. When you're frying something, I don't really like frying food. So to be honest, I seldom use high heat. If you're trying to sear something, but when do I use high heat? When I use the grill. When you put food on the grill, like for fish or chicken, it's under high heat on the grill. So usually you have to use an oil like avocado oil or ghee that can handle that, or you'll end up damaging the fat in your food. So medium high heat is like what I do in a saute pan. When I'm searing something, like I like to cook onions and get a little touch of brown to them, medium high heat. So again, I wouldn't use extra virgin coconut oil, and I wouldn't use extra virgin olive oil either for medium high heat cooking. If I'm trying to, brown onions or brown chicken or really saute something. What I oftentimes do though, is I'll start off with avocado oil a little bit. And then when I turn it down to simmer is when you can add other oils that have more flavor and maybe more nutrient value, like extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil. That's when you add them at the end when you're simmering, if you're trying to preserve those essential fatty acids. Now, I mean, for a couple weeks, 16 days on your keto diet, I don't know that it makes a huge difference, but I wouldn't want someone year after year cooking with damaged oils. I think that would be unwise.
High heat coconut oil, with high heat coconut oil. That's perfect. Good. And so with everyone listening, guys, if you have any questions in our Keto-Green communities that you're watching here, you have any questions for me and the benefit of the esteemed, most amazing Dr. Stephen Masley, put your questions in the chat box. We are going to get to them. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to share his resources page. I'm also going to show you how to get I'm going to share my screen and show you how to get these amazing resources too. So I plan to do this. That is my goal. Share.
Share.
There we go. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen here. We go. All right. So you guys.
drmasley.com. Resources.
Yep. There you go. So drmasley.com/resources. And you come in here and you'll see here, oil smoke points. But before you do that, just check out this amazing stuff that he recommends. And all the way down here, look what we have.
What a surprise.
I was so surprised. I just saw this. I was like, oh my gosh. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I love that. And here too, the laundry. I love this laundry, Stephen Ezel's, this laundry line. This is awesome. You guys, for this, we're going to be talking about this on, I believe it's Thursday. Later this week, we'll be putting on an announcement for this live that we have too. So great. But we go up here, oil smoke points, and we have this great resource right here.
So there's your cooking heats, right? And then below are the oil smoke heats.
So cooking heat. So we're cooking like really high and in a hurry. Avocado oil. Avocado oil we can use for.
Like on the grill or under the broiler. That's very, or frying, that's very high heat. Medium high is more, sauteing in a pan.
So this virgin olive oil, because, my family in the Middle East, they've had, olive trees, olive groves for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they always said, my grandmother used to say, she said, at room temperature, olive oil is a medicine, the most amazing, right? but when you heat it, it becomes a poison. So this must be talking about extra high heat, because but these very first cold press, this very fragile olive oil, like she would keep it away from the sunlight, in a dark area, doesn't get sunlight, doesn't get direct light exposure, nothing to keep this fresh olive oil. So I rarely cook. Well, now I cook a little bit more with olive oil, but always it's at the end, putting it on.
Right. I do it when I'm simmering. So virgin is the second press. No heat, no chemicals, undamaged, but doesn't have as many nutrients. It's less delicate. Extra virgin is the first press, has the highest nutrient and the best flavor. Virgin olive oil isn't treated, it's not damaged. But it's really hard to find, So in a previous book, I put recipes and said virgin olive oil, but I got all these comments. Where do you buy virgin olive oil? Or, where do you get this stuff? And it's harder to find now than it was in the past, now that extra virgin olive oil is even more popular.
So if we get the virgin, like virgin avocado, that's medium heat too, but regular avocado oil, high heat.
No, if you're having virgin avocado oil, you're at 400. Yeah, you get 400 heat.
Yeah. Clarified butter or ghee, 485. So that's our high. We can use it. Feel comfortable, safer. Grapeseed oil. And we said, really safe to have that avocado oil. And
that's like lard. I've always heard you could cook with high heat with lard, but obviously you can tell that's not true. It's only 3 weeks.
I thought so too.
So it has a lot of delicate fatty acids in it that are going to be damaged. So we should address, for your listeners, what does it mean to have damaged fat in your oil? Well, it's like a wildfire. Think of what's a bag of spinach. If you have one rotten piece of spinach in there, you know how quickly that spreads through the whole bag? If you have damaged oils in your oil, it's going to spread through the whole oil, and it impacts your proteins in your tissues. So we really don't want to eat damaged fats.
No. And so give some examples of what happens when we do that again.
You get inflamed, you have free radical overload. It's, that toxic effect. So you're more achy. And as you know, inflammation is kind of accelerates all aspects of aging. It makes our hormone system more imbalanced. Our metabolic rate drops. And so it's easier to gain weight. There's nothing good about being inflamed. If your brain's inflamed, you get memory loss. If your heart's inflamed and your arteries inflamed, you get heart disease. If your joints are inflamed, we get arthritis. We don't want that. So, part of an anti-inflammatory diet is eating clean, undamaged fat. So that's something important.
Because we want those healthy fats. So give us one of your recipes that would be in line with, or one of your, a couple of your selections in your Mediterranean method cookbook that would be in line with Keto-Green.
Well,
we know the paella.
The paella would be, probably many of them. If I just glance through some of these.
I know you have so many. I have it at home.
A frittata, you can do it easily, a frittata, vegetable and eggs, and make it keto friendly.
Mm-hmm.
The ceviche recipe, by the way, in here is awesome.
Okay, talk about that, because ceviche
is like fish, like snapper, some white fish. You soak it in lime juice for 3 to 4 hours, and then you add things to it like tomato and avocado, and it tastes fantastic. So that's just a nice little appetizer. But they're so great about, and I think if you're going to do keto, you still need greens, because you need those nutrients, and you need, as you've pointed out correctly, that alkaline effect. So, salads with protein and olive oil are so important, salad niçoise is a great example of that, so
that looks amazing.
It's a fantastic example of what.
With tuna, right?
I used wild salmon.
Wild salmon.
So You're absolutely right. Normally it is made with tuna. You're right. But I prefer less mercury and more omega-3. So I would try to get someone to use pink or red salmon in a can, no skin or bones. And I think it's just great. But, like the cover on the book, grilled fennel and shrimp with the salad and a vinaigrette dressing, again, greens, some protein and healthy fat. I mean, without all that, one of the themes of the Mediterranean method is avoiding carbs that cause your blood sugar to go up.
Yeah.
So.
And, Stephen, something I've been doing with my audience, and one of the things I wrote about in the book is, and how I created the recipes too, is just continuous glucose monitoring. So continuing to check, where do I go? Can check, blood sugar with, and I had a feast day, kind of a feast day. I stayed mostly Keto-Green, except they made this amazing special sorbet for me because I'm dairy free. And I was like, oh, thank you. It's amazing.
Well, I had your Keto 16 shake for breakfast today before I went for a bike ride.
Ah, very good. How'd you feel?
It was nice. I loved it.
Yay. Thank you. Well, let's talk too, while I have you for the next few minutes, what in thinking about what you've seen following the Mediterranean method diet, the same concept as Keto-Green carb living, especially for women in menopause. What just clinically as a physician you saw improve that their doctors did not tell them, and again, that there was a reversible, right? As physicians, we know that, say, for example, our patients are given a diagnosis. Okay, you have diabetes. It's not, let's reverse this process, right? You have heart disease, you have high cholesterol. It's here's a pill versus let's reverse this process. Now, we're all about that. And you especially have done these high-level clinical studies looking at carotid artery thickening. So a sign of deposits, right? How our vessels look, a sign of the health quality of our life. And you've seen, let's talk about what you've seen in implementing this in clinical practice.
Well, in our clinic, trying to get someone to follow a low glycemic version of a Mediterranean diet, those healthy plant pigments and foods and healthy fats, and doing that. And having done that for over a decade, the results have been pretty amazing. I couldn't, when we first met, 12, 15 years ago, I couldn't have predicted the results would have been this good. That, our average person their cholesterol's better, their blood pressure's better, their blood sugar drops, they lose weight. That's our average patient. And they're shrinking arterial plaque. Their brain speed, their brain processing speed, which we measure, improves. So using that carotid intimomedial thickness measure you talked about, how do you measure plaque in your arteries? Not only is our average person getting better, we have hundreds of people who've shrunk their artery plaque by more than 10 years. They're literally 10 years younger on the inside. And they feel better. Perhaps the greatest thanks I get, I know you get thanks, but the most wonderful ones I get are when people say to me, is, wow, in just 30 days, I have my life back. I didn't realize how good I could feel. That's the amazing thing, is that people have been sinking for so long and feeling worse and worse. And, you know what I mean? And that suddenly they feel fantastic and they're just amazed. And they weren't aware how badly they felt until they had the contrast.
That is so true. In our Keto-Green 16 challenge community, I saw someone post, she was on day 8 or 9, I think. And she said, when I was kind of feeling like, I know I feel better, but I'm frustrated that I'm not seeing the scale move so much. And she goes, so I had them do the hormone toxicity questionnaire, my hormone review systems questionnaire. And she goes, when we started, I was at 44 and now I'm at 23. She goes, in just 8 days, my symptoms reduced 50%. She goes, and before I had some 5s on the list, they rate 0 to 5. And now everything is 3 or less. And just that realization was such huge motivation for her. Right? Just this amazing motivation that in just this quick amount of time, and you've seen it as well over and over again. What about getting off medications? How does that work?
Often. I'm seeing people with heart disease. Some of them have had a prior heart attack or they're high risk for a heart attack. So I'm cautious it's an understatement. I am being cautious, but clearly, so I'm looking over time. So for people on especially blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetic meds, I'm not so cavalier. I'm just saying you can just stop them and let's see what happens. I'm kind of waiting to prove that they can shrink their plaque, feel better, all their numbers are better. And it usually, honestly, to really shrink arterial plaque, we're talking about a year. So I'm following people long-term, confirming that over a year, they're able to shrink their plaque. And that's usually when I say, why don't we try stopping your meds? And what we usually see most of the time is they continue to shrink their arterial plaque. They continue to feel better. Their numbers are all still better. And I say, you know what? You're doing it now without your medications. You don't need them. And once in a while, I'll see someone who really does need that medication and I'll restart it. But I'd say most of the time they don't. And when they do, they still feel so much better if they incorporate the lifestyle with any medication they take.
I love it. And so, and what kind of lifestyle recommendations do you like, or your preference?
Food.
I just can't help saying it. It's not just about what we eat. So go ahead.
So food is number one. It is what we eat, but we also need to meet our nutrient needs. You just can't go on a deprivation, starvation diet and expect, just because you're losing weight doesn't mean you're healthier. So you have to meet your nutrient needs. And much of that has to come from colorful plant pigments. There's just no way around the importance of that. So food, nutrients, fitness. I think being fit is more important than how much time you spend being active. So both some measure of strength training and some measure of getting your heart rate up, and stress management. Those are the four pillars: food, nutrients, being fit, and managing your stress. And if you do that, it's, your hormones come into balance, your blood sugar comes into balance, your weight's all those things seem to correct themselves if we deal with those four key pillars.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So now in our Keto-Green community, we've had some clients too, that in their maybe day 8, 9, some women are losing a pound a day. It's been amazing. And others are like, well, I'm not seeing a shift. I'm not seeing a shift. So that one client who did her work, right? She did her discovery process. Well, how are my symptoms? When we're seeing some weight loss resistant, even following a Keto-Green or Mediterranean method plan, what do you think are some of the needle moving, additions or
toxins and food allergies? What food intolerances? So usually I'm really going to look at some form of elimination diet. It's not just, of course, gluten and dairy, but I'm not of the belief that 100% of people could never have gluten or dairy again, but many people never should, because it, for them, they're sensitive to it. It's an autoimmune reaction. But there's also soy. I'm okay with some people having, organic, non-GMO soy, but if you're intolerant, then you should give it up. Alcohol for some people really is a game changer. That if you're really trying to lose weight, 1, it adds calories, and 2, it removes, makes inhibitions disappear, and suddenly it's challenging. So, and then there's things in process. Sweeteners, we don't realize the impact they have on our appetite, that when you eat something sweet, you don't get any calories. Your brain will want that, get paid eventually, and it can actually up your appetite levels through hormonal processes and blocking leptin receptors. So, avoiding, and then not only do sweeteners impact your appetite, they kill your gut microbiome. So beyond, an elimination diet, which can cause leaky gut and gut problems, the other key thing that I think has a big impact on weight control for weight resistance that most people don't address is their gut microbiome. Sometimes I even start there. Oftentimes in addition to, eating food, meeting your nutrient needs, being active, managing your stress, the gut Hippocrates, the father of medicine, basically said all food diseases start in the gut. And I think for even not just, I think we think of gut health and irritable bowel syndrome, okay, I can figure that one out. But it also impacts brain health and heart health. There's Yeah, I'm doing an update on my 30-day heart tune-up book because I think of your gut microbiome as the missing risk factor for heart disease. There's metabolites that your gut and bacteria make that increase your risk for heart disease by 62%. It's your gut microbiome is probably a bigger issue than more important than your cholesterol level.
Stephen, there's some research, I've been watching it now. We know also part of the segment, right, of the gut bacteria responsibility is to detoxify estrogen. We call that the estrobolome. But what they're seeing now is gut bacteria, that bacteria, not just gut bacteria, but like even bacteria within the breast tissue. The lower the number, the higher incidence of cancer, the worse the cancer too.
Yes.
And so for our clients, always, again, this food and what you preach and I preach is that food diversity, plant diversity. We know plant diversity increases gut microbial diversity, organic, free range.
Yes.
Pick it, eat it, right? Let it, let nature really do some nature bathing, forest bathing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to make a really big influence on our gut bacteria. But just that, and this should make, I would say, this kind of information, like intermittent fasting, the longer we have intermittent fasting, at least 13 hours between dinner and breakfast, decreases risk of recurrent breast cancer. Increasing gut microbial diversity and the health of the gut microbiome, as well as all through our body, decreases our risk of breast cancer. These should be front page news. So anyone with breasts who are listening, we need to take action on this. Men, women, right? We have to support the gut microbiome. So tell me, what modification are you doing to support this, unhealthy gut microbiome? I'm going to let you go. I know you have to rush.
Well, number one, if you don't eat the right prebiotic fiber sources, even if you add the right bugs, they starve to death. So we've got to eat more plant-based fiber from vegetable fruit. I like beans as a source, nuts, chicory, artichoke, dandelion greens. There's so many things that, are effective at feeding our gut. But anybody who has issues, probably just doing that would be great if you've been doing this for decades and you're just trying to maintain and you eat regular probiotic foods, whether it's kimchi or miso or kefir or yogurt or coconut yogurt or however you get your probiotics. But if you are starting this new, if you have unexplained health problems, I really think people need a blast of a probiotic supplement, at least 25 up to 50 billion a day for a minimum of 2 to 3 months to help shift and get back to normal probiotic species in their gut. I recommend that for my heart patients now. It's clearly for weight, gut issues. I've been doing that for a decade, and then, for weight loss, I've probably been doing it for several years, but now I'm even doing it for my heart patients as an essential component of their health to get their gut microbiome up to normal, healthy, balanced function.
And it starts in the mouth, right? Like stopping that mouthwash, that Listerine and that, that caustic mouthwash and things like that. I always use Primal Life Organics, their dental powders in my business, and I love their stuff because of helping with a healthy mouth.
Well, and not being on antibiotics. One course of antibiotics is going to mess you up for literally years. Yeah. So, and I'm not a nihilist. I'm not against anyone ever going on antibiotics. That would be crazy. There are severe infections, but we should never use antibiotics for like a cold or a bronchitis or something minor. You need to ask your physician, can I give this another week? Is it safe to give it more time and allow myself to heal? And what can I do to support myself? But if you do take them, then clearly you need like a double boost of probiotic support for a couple months to help rebuild them back, along with the other sources.
At least 2 to 3 months. And I often would put in a healthy dose of an antifungal at the same time because that's working with clients. But yeah, if we can avoid it. And that's something I did in my practice. I'm like, here's a prescription. If you're not better in 3, see how you're doing. If you're not feeling better in 3 days, go ahead and take it. You know what I mean? It was that.
I actually now use, a healthy yeast, Saccharomyces boulardii that blocks other fungus from growing, and it blocks Clostridium difficile. So I actually have started using a probiotic yeast or fungus, basically a healthy, balanced one, to make that difference. on the first day you start the antibiotics. So I give people a 2-week course of Saccharomyces boulardii. And then when they finish the antibiotic, or they could do it, there's controversy how much effect it has while you're on it. But for at least 2 months afterwards is to do the probiotic support is what I do. Okay.
We got a question in here, but also I want to mention, you mentioned artichoke. Artichoke is one of the most amazing superfoods, right? There's so many good things about artichoke. And you also mentioned chicory. So Diane asked from Facebook, she asked, how about decaf coffee with chicory? Is that good for you?
Well, it does. Chicory is probably one of the best sources of inulin, which is the type of prebiotic fiber that's probably best for growing healthy gut microbes. So yeah, that's probably the most common way that people get chicory is having a cup of chicory coffee, so to speak.
Oh, wow. See, because you wouldn't think it had fiber in it because it's just.
No, you do. The only question is, it's not going to be steaming hot. It's probably by the time it gets to your stomach, it's going to have lost that heat. So it's not scalding, super hot. The chicory fiber is still going to be there whether it's hot or cold. So I started to say you shouldn't be so hot, but the heat's probably not an issue. I'm on the wrong track there.
Okay, good. And Donald, hey Donald, how are you? Donald lives in Florida, client of mine long time ago, just a great, amazing guy. He is asking here, what's your opinion on the best probiotic to use to help support your microbiome? And I'm happy for you to share, Stephen, and I'll also share.
Okay, well, there's different species that have different benefits. So there's specific species that have been shown to improve blood pressure almost as much as taking a blood pressure drug. There's others that help your cholesterol. There's ones that improve blood sugar, and there's different ones that impact your weight. So it's kind of what's your issue that you're trying to address, and target. But there's several really good. The lactobacillus and bifidobacteria are probably the two biggest families. I actually have a blog I wrote on this, but I lifted some specific strains. So if someone would like to go to the website and check my recent blog on probiotics, I mentioned specific strains that you can use for different indications depending on what your health issues are.
Yeah, and that's drmasley.com, drmasley.com. So for me, there's a couple of things. I have my Puro Probio Max, which has 100 billion, and that is a great rebuilder. That's a great rebuilder. And then also just a maintenance dose, or if you're eating out and something that you had, because many of the foods that when we're eating out have been, injected with or given antibiotics. If we happen to eat something that has antibiotic in it, could that affect our own gut microbiome?
Probably, the reason they give animals antibiotics is actually to change their gut microbiome and make them more effective at absorbing calories. So when you take an antibiotic, or when a cow eats an antibiotic, they kill off good microbiome bacteria. You overgrow other species that are more efficient at absorbing calories, and you can feed them less food and they gain weight. So the good news is you don't actually get the antibiotic from eating a steak. The bad news is that we're creating drug-resistant bacteria, and there's a whole host of problems. When they give a cow hormones, you absorb those hormones. When they give a cow pesticides in their feed, you absorb those pesticides. I think my impression is the antibiotics get broken down and you don't absorb the antibiotics from the food, although there's many other bad impacts from feeding animals antibiotics.
Well, and one thing that I thought, wouldn't be a great impact, but I had a client who ate farmed fish, and he had a penicillin allergy. And he ate that farmed fish and he had an anaphylactic reaction. He had asked to make sure it was wild caught, but it turned out it was farmed. So I guess that, would also, the amount and the sensitivity, if you have a sensitivity, certainly can make a big difference.
That I'm not sure. I mean, if you have a penicillin allergy, you could have many other food allergies, and unrelated to that. I'm guessing you're not getting. It's unlikely someone's going to get penicillin from food, and if they had a separate reaction, my best guess is yes, they could have got some penicillin, but more likely they have another food allergy and they haven't yet identified what it is.
Or with something else, yeah. So the ones that I use Pure Probiomax and it's Probiotic by Microbiome Labs. Those are two of my favorites that I like, and so those are a couple that I can recommend. Now, Kim asked this great question here from Facebook. She said, do you still recommend probiotics for those with SIBO or suspected SIBO? And that's for small intestinal bowel overgrowth. I knew we were going to get this question, by the way. Turn on some lights.
Yeah, so now this is complicated, and people with SIBO respond very different to different treatments. I wish I could say for SIBO, you follow A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And honestly, that's not the case. So food sensitivities are important. Bacterial overgrowth can certainly be part of that. How do you kill off some of these what do you do to add and promote? And some probiotics will actually make people worse. So it's not just like everyone's going to respond to a probiotic with SIBO. Unfortunately, my experience, and the more I read, is sometimes I think the less we know. And there's a trial and error of which ones will actually make you better, what might make you worse. Just like there's food sensitivity, some foods make you better, some make you worse. So with SIBO, I'm a lot more cautious and careful and methodical about following all, and there's a whole different protocol for treating people with SIBO that I think is worth looking into, and realizing that people have individual response, not just we can't treat everyone with SIBO the same.
Right. I agree. And then again, getting to the underlying reasons as well. What is the underlying reason? And that leads us to Donald wrote in. He said, I'm eating right most of the time and exercising. I think I have leaky gut, so I'd like to start there. Leaky gut, we just think leaky membranes, leaky cells, right? Leaky cell to cell breakdown between the cell to cell connections, right? That creates leaky gut. And whether it's in our gut, whether it's in our heart, whether it's in our brain, wherever we have that breakdown in cell membrane health and border, like the healthy cell membranes, we see this situation, and that creates inflammation. It creates hardening of the arteries. It creates plaques in the brain. It creates this leaky gut, arthritis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid symptoms, just name it, immunological symptoms, impairment. So Donald, you're absolutely right to start at healing the gut. I mean, definitely starting at healing the gut. So certainly, some things go a long way. Stephen, one of the things, do you have a couple more minutes? How are you on time?
Yeah, I have a couple more minutes. Yes.
Okay. One of the things that definitely in my practice when I see clients too with leaky gut is doing just 72 hours of gut rest with just a high quality gut rebuilding shake. So taking everything out, taking all, just being a very low inflammatory, supporting that GI rest time. What do you do? Well,
for leaky gut, I'm a big believer in an elimination diet. But if you only do an elimination diet, that may not be yes, you're trying to get rid of some of the triggers, but there's also chemical triggers. I was pretty appalled recently to read about how emulsifiers that are in processed food, or things like mayonnaise, or even salad dressings you don't make yourself, they dissolve that fatty lining along the gut, and they can, in lab animals, they clearly promote leaky gut and all the problems associated with it. So if you're eating processed food, you're probably damaging your intestinal lining. So it's really getting back to cutting out triggers, but really natural whole foods that are unprocessed, unadulterated, avoiding some of those triggers, like sweeteners, kills off the gut microbiome and can do this. And antibiotics are a trigger. Emulsifiers, I didn't realize until just very recently that they could impact leaky gut. And then the nutrients, some of the things you already talked about, like glutamine is the number one amino acid protein building block that your gut cells use the lining. So a glutamine supplement, and probably glycine, you can get that, from one source is, from, is a marrow, that we get from stock and bones, bone bone broth, is a healthy source for a nutrient source, and sometimes I'll just have someone do a elimination diet and bone broth for a few days to help nurse their gut. But I think curcumin, glutamine, glycine, those are, and a probiotic source. I almost always would give someone a probiotic source to help reinoculate the gut for someone with leaky gut. I mean, those are just a few of the things that I think are essential to make a difference.
Yeah, and we've got people here saying they've taken prebiotics, probiotics, and aloe for healing the gut. All of this is really, really good stuff. And
licorice,
Licorice, yeah. Kristen said, she wrote in here from Facebook that she's been having gut issues, been on PPIs for years. And this will be the last question we take. Should I see a registered dietitian? So definitely you want to see a functional medicine physician, someone, whether they're a naturopath, a MDDO, a health coach that can help you get off of these PPIs.
Well, proton pump inhibitors, they, in a major way, they block stomach acid production, as Dr. Cabeca, But for your listeners, so PPIs, what most people aren't aware of is they are addicting, habit forming. And then when you stop them, you get a marked jump in acid production in your stomach. So almost everybody, if we put them on a PPI, proton pump inhibitor, for a month, and then suddenly stop it, most people are going to have dyspepsia, stomach distress, heartburn. It's hard to get off them. So sometimes we're put on them kind of innocently, like you did something. Another gut irritant is anti-inflammatory drugs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, Advil, Aleve, Vioxx, all those drugs put holes in your gut. So sometimes you'll take a PPI to heal a gut injury. Mm-hmm. And that's not such a bad idea if for some reason you unfortunately took ibuprofen or naproxen and got gut holes in your gut, and you were trying to heal it. But the problem is, how do you get off them? It's really a challenge. So it's weaning off. It might be switching to something like ranitidine's now off the market, but there's famotidine, Pepcid that you could take that's less potent. The goal isn't to stand it long term. The goal is so what are your triggers that you're taking a PPI for, like heartburn or dyspepsia? Usually alcohol and coffee, all brown liquids, and most alcohol make it worse. So giving up brown liquids, all your coffee, all alcohol for a couple weeks, adding things like licorice, Sipley elm, marshmallow. Those, are three of my favorite herbal remedy, and aloe, maybe 4 major remedies. And then using a drug that's less potent to kind of wean down off of these PPIs. It's a challenge. It's not easy, but those are I think that's another blog I wrote. If you go to blogs and you look under PPI and heartburn or GERD, GERD, I think you'll see tips that I wrote on how to help people get off of a PPI, because it's not easy, and I'm sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for being here today. I have loved being with you. I can't wait to see you again. You got to come out to St. Simon's and visit. Bring Nicole. And I look forward to seeing you. Tell our listeners now where they can get your book and also your other books.
Well, any of the books, including my latest book, The Mediterranean Method, are available wherever books are sold. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. When the stores open, they'll be there. When online is still available. Online is still available, although it's, as you know, it's slower online now. But for more information, or for my blog, or some of those tips, or the resources to get that table for the Smoke Point on Oils, go to drmasley.com, drmasley.com/resources for the resources, and then go to blog, drmasley.com, and click under the blog to sign up for the blog. I've got a few free gift for you to entice you to get on my blog list and receive information. So, Anna, it was awesome to see you as usual. You're always a joy and always have good information. So it's really a pleasure to get to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been great. I appreciate it. And I know our audience, everyone's saying great stuff. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys. Big hand for Dr. Masley. Be sure to like and share this. You know, at least 100 people who need this information right now, right? You know this information. So share, spread the wealth, and knowledge that each and every one of you are gaining, and continue just really focusing on your next right step. What's your one next right step? Write down right now. You've gotten a lot of ahas from this conversation. You know, more information on smoke points, more information on general health, and what are some great, no matter what you're dealing with, you can make progress. So write down right now, what is your one next right step that you're definitely going to start implementing from this conversation with us today. And I want to just, again, thank everyone for being here, and thanks for your sharing this information. And again, Dr. Masley, thank you for your time. Mwah! Love you, man.